I want to introduce you to one of Tampa's historic and loved artifacts, Sulphur Spring. There are so many artifacts and history in Sulphur Springs that it would be impossible to share it all. So I'm going to focus mainly on Sulphur Springs Tower, but also information on the amusement park, the gazebo, the alligator farm, the theater, drive-in, and hotel and arcade. Josiah Richardson, a real estate tycoon here in Tampa, purchased the theme park in 1920. The theme park already had an alligator farm, hotel, pool, and much more. But for the next 4 years, he expanded onto that, adding bathhouses, a toboggan sled, and much more. He believed that these healing springs would bring many tourists, not only the rich, but also the middle class. The Sulphur Spring Tower, which is steeped in stories and history, has left many artifacts for viewing. The tower was actually built by Grover Poole in 1927 for Mr. Richardson. The tower was built atop a rock that was nearly 45 feet into the ground. A pump brought the water into the belly and up to the top of the tower. This water was artisan water, filled with vitamins and minerals that were not present in the other water in Tampa. This water was then carried through the pipes to the nearby hotel that Josiah Richardson had built, as well as the homes of the people who paid for that privilege. Another interesting fact about the tower is that it was not built with bricks, but instead it was poured in 10 feet increments with rebar, so that at the end of the construction it was one single piece of concrete from top to bottom. The top portion of the tower housed the water tanks that held 125,000 gallons of water, and the lower 7 floors were made intentionally so that the visitors would be able to look up to the top of the tank and also look down and see the pool of spring water. People have said that in the 1600s this land housed a nautical lighthouse that guided many ships into the spring to refill their boats with the healthful waters. The water had many health benefits that many believed to heal almost any ailment. There were stories that the Native American Indians coming to the springs once a year to drink and heal. The tower literally towers over Sulphur Springs Historic District, standing at 214 feet tall. The tower can be pretty much seen from anywhere in Sulphur Springs. Over the years, there has not been very many structural changes to the original tower, with the exception of the secondary square water treatment building being removed and some cosmetic pieces being removed due to deterioration. At one point, the bottom portion was filled with concrete to keep vandals from breaking in. And then in 2003, the city of Tampa had hired a crew to go in and break through the concrete. After the cleanup and restoration, Tampa reopened the tower in a lighting ceremony. Richardson also built a hotel with beautiful architectural columns, adding an arcade to the first floor, and many businesses. This would later on become one of the hot spots of Tampa's upper and middle class families, and also the first mall in Florida. Richardson built a lovely gazebo that is rumored to have been the hot spot for weddings, as well as meetups with some of the northern gangsters that were frequenting Florida in the late 20s. The gazebo had a fountain built in the middle of the lower floor that fed directly into the spring, and people could come and drink the artisan healing waters. In 1933, everything came to an abrupt halt with a severe rainfall due to a hurricane caused major damage to and malfunction of the local dam. The arcade in the hotel was extremely damaged, along with many other attractions. Financially, Richardson never fully recovered. Tower Drive-In was built later on in 1952, right on the property, and within feet of the water tower, it parked 300 cars and welcomed walk-ins. The water tower eventually was abandoned as a source of drinking water, and in the 1980s, the drive-in was torn down. In 1986, the spring was closed for swimming after the water was contaminated, and Tampa Parks and Recreation went on to build a chlorinated pool near the structure, offering the residents a safe alternative to the spring. But that doesn't change the fact that the native Tampians have some serious stories to tell. If you tug on the ear of some of the residents here in Tampa, you will get stories that change based on the generation. I have heard stories from my neighbors both in their 70s. The husband, a retired ship captain, and his wife was the daughter of a large landowner here in Tampa. They tell stories of pirates coming down the Hillsborough River in the 1600s and using the tower property to bury treasure maps. This may sound far-fetched to people who have not been born or raised or moved into Tampa, but Tampa itself is connected, as well as many of the residents who are biologically related, to the famous pirate Jose Gaspar and his crew. The pirates came land here, raping and pillaging. The latter is fact. We have a celebration here in Tampa yearly where we reenact Jose Gaspar taking over Tampa, and we have a month-long succession of parades and festivities and parties. We celebrate the fact that the pirates came. This brings me to another neighbor who is a Tampa native, a senior who is a very charismatic personality. She kind of reminds me of a pirate. She tells me stories of her pirate ancestors burying treasure on the Sulphur Springs amusement park property before that it had been built on. Haunted places online tell stories of pirates using the tower as landmarks on their maps, and that this is directly related to the ghost that roams the ground. If you take to the adults who grew up in the 1980s here in Sulphur Springs, you will encounter stories about people climbing the tower, using it to hang out while getting drunk and partying. These stories are heartbreaking because it also brought with it graffiti and damage. The tower had to be painted with graffiti-proof paint in an attempt to protect it. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed learning about Sulphur Springs. It's been awesome living here since I was 15, and many of the pictures that you have seen I took. The other ones, though, I would really like to thank Dan Perez and his site Tampa Pics. He was such a great help at getting me information and resources. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.